Hello students, this video deals about the methods of translation. Before entering into the topic, we have to know about the definition of translation and the two language, that means source language and the target language involved in the translation process. Definition of translation. Translation is an anglicized form of a Latin word. In it, trans means across and latum means to carry. Translation is an act of rendering a text from one language into another. Translation involves the transfer of meaning contained in one set of language signs into another set of language signs. J.C. Catford defines translation as the replacement of textual material in one language by equivalent material in another language. In the words of Nida, translation is a process by means of which a person who knows both the source language and the receptor language decodes the message of the source language and encodes it in the most appropriate form in the receptor's language. Methods of translation. There are three ways of translating text. They are author-centered translation, text-centered translation, and reader-centered translation. Author-centered translation. Author-centered translation stresses the primacy of the translator's familiarity with the author. It helps him to guess the intention of the writer of the original text. If the author belongs to a period of time where the translator has direct access to him, then the method is author-centered. If there is enough information available to help the translator arrive at the author's intention, then it is author-centered translation. Expressive texts are author-centered because they express the mood and tone of the author. For example, autobiographies, essays, personal correspondence, political statements, and speeches belong to author-centered translation. Text-centered translation. Text-centered translation stresses primacy of the text. A legal document does not require author-centered translation. It has to be text-centered. There the intention is to convey the truth and to keep the readers well informed. Informative texts are text-centered. All type of fact-oriented scientific and knowledge-based writings, for example, textbooks, reports, academic articles, and scientific literature belong to text-centered translation. Reader-centered translation. Reader-centered translation stresses the primacy of the reader. The first priority in reader-centered translation is the reader's response. Imperative texts are reader-centered. They impress upon the reader the need to think, feel, act, and react in the way intended by the text. Notices, propaganda, publicity materials, instructions, and advertisements belong to reader-centered translation. Thank you.